Hello everyone, my name is Kayla Vallejo, and my presentation is titled The Visual Language of Self, Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is one of the most fascinating and influential artists of the 20th century. She's not only remembered for her striking self-portraits, but also for the emotional honesty and cultural pride that shaped her art. In this presentation, I'll explore how Kahlo transformed her pain and personal experience into a groundbreaking artistic vision that challenged both traditional gender roles and artistic conventions. Over the next 10 slides, we'll look at her background, her major influences, and 3 key artworks that define her style and voice. We'll also talk about how she contributed to the Avant-Garde movement and why her legacy continues to matter today. By the end, I hope you'll see how Kahlo's art became a powerful form of self-expression and one that continues to speak to issues of identity, resilience, and authenticity. Frida Kahlo lived and worked during a time of intense cultural change in Mexico known as Mexicanidad. This was a national movement that emerged after the Mexican Revolution, when the country was rebuilding its identity and trying to reconnect with its indigenous roots. Artists, writers, and musicians began to celebrate Mexico's history, folk art, and traditional culture instead of trying to copy European styles. Mexicanidad was about pride, about showing that Mexican culture had its own beauty, strength, and voice. Kahlo became one of the most powerful figures in that movement, using her art to explore what it meant to be Mexican on a deeply personal level. What made Frida Kahlo's art so distinctive was its honesty. Instead of painting grand historical scenes or abstract ideas, she focused on her own experiences. Her physical pain from the bus accident that left her with lifelong injuries, her complicated marriage to Diego Rivera, and her struggles with identity, love, and loss. Each painting feels like a visual diary filled with symbols that revealed her inner world. That level of emotional truth was revolutionary for her time, especially in a society that often expected women to stay silent about personal suffering. Although she drew from Mexican folk art and pre-Columbian symbols, Kahlo was also influenced by European avant-garde movements she encountered through Rivera and other artists. She absorbed elements of surrealism and expressionism, vivid colors, dreamlike imagery, and emotional intensity, but she never fully embraced those movements. She once said, "They thought I was a surrealist, but I wasn't. I never painted dreams, I painted my own reality." That statement captures what made her art so unique. She used modern experimental styles not to escape reality, but confront it. In doing so, she created a new kind of modern art, one that was both personal and political, both deeply Mexican and universally human. Frida Kahlo was born in 1907 in her family home, La Casa Azul, or the Blue House, in Coyoacán, a neighborhood in Mexico City that is now a museum dedicated to her life and work. From the start, her mixed heritage, having a German father and a mother of indigenous and Spanish descent, shaped how she understood herself and her country. This blend of cultures became a defining part of her identity and later showed up vividly in her paintings, where she merged European artistic techniques with the colors, symbols, and traditions of folk art. Her art reflected that duality, expressing both her pride in Mexican roots and her awareness of the European influences around her. From a young age, Kahlo endured significant health challenges that deeply influenced both her life and her art. At 6 years old, she contracted polio, which left her with a limp and a sense of isolation from other children. Yet the defining event of her life occurred when she was 18, a tragic bus accident that left her with multiple fractures to her spine and pelvis. The injuries were devastating, and she suffered from chronic pain and medical complications for the rest of her life. During a long recovery, Kahlo turned to painting as a way to cope and to give meaning to her suffering. Her parents supported her creativity by providing her with a custom-made easel that allowed her to paint while confined to her bed. A mirror mounted above her bed to let her see her reflection. And it was during this time that she began painting self-portraits, works that would later become central to her artistic legacy. Reflecting on this experience, she once said, "I painted myself because I am so often alone." This period of isolation marked the beginning of her artistic identity. Painting became more than a pastime. It was her way of processing pain, reclaiming control over her body, and asserting her individuality. Throughout art, Kahlo transformed her suffering into strength, turning personal tragedy into powerful self-expression that would resonate with audiences for generations. As Frida recovered, she became increasingly connected to Mexico's political and artistic movements, which were thriving in the wake of the Mexican Revolution. In the late 1920s, she joined the Mexican Communist Party, where she met Diego Rivera, one of the country's most famous muralists. Their marriage in 1929 marked the beginning of a relationship that was both deeply passionate and famously tumultuous. Rivera admired and encouraged Kahlo's talents, introducing her to other influential artists and intellectuals. Yet despite his fame, Kahlo never remained in his shadow. She developed a powerful and independent artistic voice that was entirely her own. When the couple moved to the United States between 1930 and 1933, Kahlo's worldview expanded. Living in cities like San Francisco, Detroit, and New York, she witnessed the stark contrast between Mexico's cultural richness and America's industrial modernity. While Rivera thrived painting large murals celebrating industry and progress, Kahlo often felt alienated by what she saw as materialism and inequality in America's society. These experiences only deepened her pride in her Mexican heritage. She began to wear traditional Tijuana dresses, vibrant garments that symbolize female strength and national identity. And she filled her paintings with indigenous symbols, folkloric patterns, and brilliant colors drawn from Mexican folk art. During these years, Kahlo also began to regain recognition as an artist in her own right. She exhibited her paintings in the U.S. and met artists, collectors, and intellectuals who admired her originality and courage. Despite ongoing physical pain and several heartbreaking miscarriages, she continued to paint with honesty and emotional intensity. Her art from this period, works like Henry Ford Hospital, 1932, revealed her private struggles and transformed them into deeply symbolic expressions of womanhood, loss, and endurance. Through it all, Kahlo's resistance never wavered. She refused to let pain define her silence or her creativity, proving that even in the face of suffering, art could be an act of survival and defiance. The Broken Column is one of Frida Kahlo's most powerful and emotional self-portraits. She painted it in 1944, shortly after having another major spinal surgery. In the painting, Frida stands half naked in the middle of a dry, cracked landscape that looks empty and lifeless. Her body is split down the middle, and instead of a spine, there's a broken, iconic column holding her up. Dozens of nails are stuck into her skin, and tears stream down her face, showing how much pain she feels. Even with all of this, she stands tall, looking straight at the viewer with a calm but powerful stare. The symbol in this painting tells a lot about her struggle. The column, which usually stands for strength and stability, is broken and crumbling, showing how fragile her body has become. The nails represent her constant pain, and the metal corset she wears both show her medical restrictions and her emotional toughness. It's like she's trapped by her injuries, but at the same time she refuses to give up. What makes the broken column so strong is how Frida turns her personal suffering into something everyone can relate to. She isn't just painting her pain. She's showing what it means to stay strong even if you're falling apart. Her direct gaze tells us she won't let her injuries or society define her. In a time when women in art were so often shown as perfect and passive, Frida showed herself as real, broken, brave, and unafraid to show the truth. This self-portrait was painted shortly after Frida Kahlo's divorce from Diego Rivera, a time when she was going through a lot of emotional pain and loneliness. In the painting, she wears a necklace made of sharp thorns that digs deep into her neck, causing drops of blood to run down her skin. At the center of the necklace hangs a dead hummingbird. In Mexican culture, hummingbirds are often seen as a symbol of love, hope, and good luck. But in this painting, the bird hangs lifeless, showing the heartbreak and loss Kahlo was feeling after her marriage ended. Around her, there are two animals filled with meaning. On one side sits a black cat, a traditional symbol of bad luck and danger. And on the other side is a small monkey, one of her real-life pets. The monkey represents affection and protection, almost like it's trying to comfort her. Even though she's surrounded by symbols of pain and sadness, Kahlo remains calm and strong. Her direct gaze seems to challenge the viewer. It's as if she's saying that even though she's hurting, it won't let her break her spirit. This painting shows how Kahlo used symbols to tell powerful emotional stories. Every detail, from the animals to the thorn necklace, reflects both her suffering and her strength. It's one of her most famous works because it captures how beauty and pain exist together. Self-portrait with thorn necklace and hummingbird isn't just about heartbreak. It's about survival, resilience, and finding the courage to face pain head-on. This painting is one of Frida Kahlo's most direct political statements. It shows her standing between two completely different worlds. On one side, the United States, and on the other side, Mexico. On her left, the American side is filled with tall gray factories, smokestacks, and machines that fill the sky with pollution. It looks cold and lifeless, representing industrial progress, but also the loss of human connection. On her right side, the Mexican side, is the total opposite. Bright, colorful, and full of natural life. There are ancient Aztec statues, flowers, and symbols of fertility and growth that celebrate Mexico's deep cultural roots. Kahlo stands in the middle, wearing a traditional Tijuana dress and holding a small Mexican flag close to her heart. Her position between the two sides shows how she felt torn between the two worlds. She admires some things about the U.S., but she also felt out of place there. The country's focus on industry and wealth didn't match her love for tradition, culture, and spirituality. She uses this painting to show that while she had experienced both worlds, her heart truly belonged to Mexico. The message of the painting is clear. Frida Kahlo was proud of her heritage, and she wanted to celebrate the beauty and strength of her culture. By placing herself in the middle, she shows that her identity isn't always simple, but she chooses to stand with her roots. It's a powerful statement about pride, independence, and staying true to where you come from, even when faced with outside pressures to change. Even though Frida Kahlo is often linked to the Surrealist movement, she never saw herself as one. She once said that she didn't paint dreams or fantasies. She painted her own reality. Still, her art shares the same bold and creative spirit as the avant-garde. It breaks rules, plays with symbolism, and challenges what people thought art was supposed to be. At the time when most avant-garde artists were men, focused on abstract ideas, Kahlo, she turned her attention inward. She made herself, her emotions, her body, and her personal struggles. It was the center of her art. By doing this, she gave a voice to the female experience in a way that few artists had done before. Her painting mixed Mexican folk traditions, Catholic symbols, and her own pain to create a unique style that felt both deeply personal and universal. Kahlo's true impact on modern art wasn't about joining a specific group. It was about changing how people saw art altogether. She proved that emotion, identity, and vulnerability were powerful subjects worthy of being shown in galleries and museums. Though her honesty and originality, Frida Kahlo opened the door for future artists to express their inner worlds just as fearlessly as she did. Kahlo's legacy goes far beyond her paintings. Today, she's seen as a symbol of strength, honesty, and individuality all around the world. Her story inspires people to face their struggles and express who they are without fear or shame. Throughout her art, Kahlo showed that being different isn't something to hide. It's something to embrace. Kahlo proved that art doesn't need to be about beauty or perfection. Instead, it can be about truth, about showing real emotions even when they're painful. Her influence can be seen everywhere, not just in art museums, but also in fashion, music, and activism. Her bold sense of style, with her colorful clothes and flower crowns, has become a global symbol of confidence and identity. She also celebrated as a feminist icon and a voice for people who have felt unheard, especially for women and marginalized groups who connected to her courage and vulnerability. Even though her face is now instantly recognizable, it's important to remember the person behind the image, an artist who used her pain to create something meaningful. Frida Kahlo changed how people think about art and identity. Her legacy reminds us that art has the power to turn suffering into beauty, and that being true to yourself can be the strongest act of all. To conclude, Frida Kahlo's art continues to stand as a powerful example of how personal expression can change the way we see both art and ourselves. Through her paintings, she blended the personal with the political and mixed emotion with culture, creating a voice that was completely her own. Every brushstroke told a part of her story, her pain, her pride, and her search for identity. Kahlo's visual language of self broke boundaries in the art world. She turned her body and her experiences into symbols of strength, vulnerability, and truth. Instead of hiding her pain, she faced it head on and transformed it into something beautiful and meaningful. Her courage to show her struggles made her work deeply human and endlessly relatable. Frida once said, "I never painted dreams or nightmares. I paint my own reality." That reality was honest, emotional, and unapologetically real. It continues to inspire people today. Her life reminds us that staying true to ourselves, even when it's difficult, can be one of the most powerful and revolutionary things we can do. Thank you so much for watching.